Let me make sure we do
There you
that.
go. I just kicked on. We're good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so welcome everybody. We are excited to be here to discuss Streamline sales with Syncro and Lifecycle Insights integration. I am Marnie Stockman from Lifecycle Insights, and we have, many of you know Crystal, and the other half of you know Alex. So Crystal, I'll pass over to you for a quick introduction.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Hey, Marnie. Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to help host this, and it's nice to meet you all. Thanks for being here. I am Crystal. I'm the sales manager here at Syncro. Quick, I think I have like a 45-second bio space here. So just super quick. I actually was the first ever salesperson hired onto the Syncro team. So I've been here since launch. It's been an amazing ride, and I'm really excited about this integration. Happy to be here.
Perfect. Alex, I'll pass to you.
Sure. For those of you who haven't met me already, my name's Alex Farling. I was a 16.5-year MSP owner on another technology stack that was really, really frustrating and is today underdeveloped. So we're super excited to see a fast-moving product like Syncro integrate with Lifecycle Insights so that we can try and keep pace with all the cool new developments that they have and bring cool new stuff over into our platform at the same time.
Perfect. So welcome again, everybody. And so let me tell you a little bit about how today will flow. First, we're going to pass it over to Crystal, who's going to do a high-level introduction of Syncro. Many of you that use Syncro already know that, but this frames it for those folks coming from Lifecycle half of the house and are seeing it maybe for the first time. And then we're going to do 10 to 15 minutes of Lifecycle Insights so that you can see. Crystal said these would be the 3 questions you wanted answered. How do you integrate with Syncro, or how does Syncro integrate with Lifecycle Insights? However you want to look at that. What does the integration do? And then pricing. So we will for sure send you all of those pieces and parts. And then both Syncro and Lifecycle Insights has some sort of, I call them incentives. So if you stay on till the end of the call, you'll find out the goodies that we have in store for you. So right out of the gate, Crystal, I think I'm going to hand the screen to you. If you have questions along the way, please put them in Q&A. We disabled the chat just so we could focus on only 3 of our screens instead of 9. So please feel free to put anything you want in Q&A.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Marnie. I'm going to share my screen. And yes, like mentioned, if you see me glancing over here, I try to like monitor the Q&A. I'm not, chatting or doing something like that over here. So if you see me looking over, I'm just monitoring that Q&A. But yeah, I think that it's worth kind of just giving a little high level for those of you that are familiar with Syncro. I'm glad you're here. It's always great to see you and have you learn more about our partners. So this is really great. For those of you that might be seeing Syncro for the first time, welcome. I'm excited to give you a little bit of information. We are a combined RMM and PSA platform. So, you can hear that a lot around the industry. What does combined actually mean? So I can show you in just a couple minutes what I mean by that. But the main takeaway here is that Syncro was built together as one complete platform from the ground up. So it wasn't like we took an RMM and then a PSA from another company and like put them together. It was actually built as one from the ground up, which allows folks like Lifecycle to be able to create integrations that are really, really seamless and streamlined. So one thing that I do like to show here is I'm just going to go into a customer. It's worth just starting on a customer level because I will highlight different ways that you can be on a customer detail screen and access the RMM with a click of a button, which is pretty incredible. So from this screen, you can see you've got just a ton of information. Everything is customizable. So everything custom fields wise that you see here, you can create whatever custom fields you'd like. You can use this. I mean, I know that the show is kind of like streamlining and increasing sales and that kind of thing, utilizing tools like Syncro and Lifecycle. So leveraging custom fields is really important. You can maintain and track all of your customer information right here. You can create appointments. You can see that you've got tickets, estimates, invoices. Like I said, it's fully built in. So you don't have to go anywhere to send invoices. You can even receive payments right here within Syncro. But what I think is really cool to show off is I'm on a customer detail screen inside of a PSA, but I also can see all of their assets. I've got a little magnifying glass here that with a click of a button, if I wanted to launch into a Syncro Live session, a remote control session, I can do that straight from the customer page. I could run a script. I can see a little thumbnail of what's going on with their machine. And then another really cool added feature is that I can start a chat with an end user straight from a customer detail record. I can create a ticket from here, which again, any time that you can streamline this process, hopefully, you can talk to your customers and they can be creating tickets for you through different ways. They can email it in, they can use a system tray icon. There's a lot of different ways that you can have tickets automatically created. So for the sake of this, I'm just going to quickly fill out my 3 required fields, get a ticket created, just so you can get your eyes on what an actual ticket looks like. So of course you can track time within your ticket. You can add worksheets to your ticket. So like say you were doing something like a virus removal, and there's maybe several steps that you or your technicians need to be taking. You can add a worksheet. Like I mentioned, you can track time. There's 3 different ways you can track time. So again, not needing a separate tool to be able to make sure you are always billing for what you're actually doing. This is important for an MSP. There's so many times I talk to MSPs that are doing work, but don't have an easy way to track it. So they're actually not collecting that revenue. Again, I'm in a ticket and I have my asset attached to the ticket since that's the way I created. And I have that quick view modal intact as well. So I can be in a ticket, I can be running scripts, never even having to leave this portion of the ticket. I can add whatever notes I want. I can email, I can text message. So I have a ton of options here from the ticket. I mentioned that we have built-in invoicing, so you can essentially just take this ticket, convert it straight to an invoice, but we also have reoccurring invoices. We support several billing models, whether you're billing time and material and you want all of those pending ticket charges to append to a reoccurring invoice and send out once a month. We've got you covered on that. If it's flat rate, if it's per endpoint, if it's per contact, we have dynamic counters. And then again, we integrate with payment processors. And so it really is your one-stop shop for, all of the MSP functionality that you'll need. Let's see here. And then real quick, it's worth just hopping over. I know I have just a few minutes, or you guys can wave me down if I've gone over. I think it's just really quick while I'm over here in assets and RMM, you have the ability to create saved asset searches. You can run functions across these, like run a scripted mask, send a broadcast message, that sort of thing. We all of these assets, they're run off of the policy that you apply. So you decide what you want to be monitoring, what you don't. You have full access to that endpoint. It pulls a ton of information in for you. And then, of course, you can see all of your recent activity. You can see what your technicians are doing. You can see all of the ticket logs. So we give you a ton of visibility. I mean, we do cover all of antivirus. We integrate with 3 different antivirus options. You can even manage all of your Windows patches plus third-party application patch management as well, straight from within Syncro. It's all on a policy level. And then, I think that the last thing that I will show in app, so that I don't totally take up the entire time slot, is I like to show automated remediation, because again, what we're talking about here is how to streamline your business. And so one really amazing way to do that when you have a fully combined RMM and PSA platform is that you can have an RMM alert that is generated, have it automatically kick off a bunch of actions. So you can set your conditions, you can get incredibly granular. So whatever the trigger category is, let's just say, let's keep it maybe simple and something like low hard drive space. You can, of course, add additional conditions. Maybe you only want this automation to run on a certain operating system, whatever that might be. You can add additional conditions there. And then once those conditions are met, you can have all of these actions kick off. So maybe it's convert it to a ticket. You can predefine all of these fields so you don't have to fill it in later. The asset will already be attached to the ticket. Then after that ticket's created, maybe you want it to run a script, clean up temp files, for example, but we have a built-in PowerShell module. You can even run a script that logs time in that ticket. You can go full cycle. You can have this action close the ticket, clear the alert. So you really can be earning money in your sleep, essentially. So automated remediation is really awesome. I will head over, if just heading to our app center, and I'm sure Alex will show this too, but this is where you'll find all of our integrations, including Lifecycle, so you can start to set up that integration from there. And I know we will go through, individual pricing and that kind of thing, but it's probably worth just showing, Syncro does definitely break kind of the normal pricing model that you're used to seeing. So we bill per technician or per user. So what that actually means is that you're only paying for the people that need access to Syncro in your organization. So say you have yourself and 2 technicians, it's about $300 a month because we do not charge per endpoint. It's unlimited endpoints. So you can go with your group of 3, you could start with 300 endpoints and grow to 1,000 endpoints and still pay the same thing within Syncro. So we really do, we back up our words when we say we want to help you grow, and our pricing model does reflect that.
So Crystal, that actually leads right into the question that's in chat. And I think I know the answer because I've poked around your app center, but Randy asked, I've already tied into an RMM. Is the PSA available separately?
So as far as a pricing tier plan, no. If you are locked in with an RMM, the actual platform is so flexible that if you head over, in your admin section, you can customize which tabs you're utilizing and things like that. But the true power of Syncro is the combined RMM and PSA. So, those are the tiers that we have available in regards to pricing anyways, but you can customize the app to your business model.
Perfect. Just wanted to make sure I got that chat question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, if there's any other questions, happy to show, or we can, wait for questions at the end, but happy to see.
And both. I will load up my screen, and please, if you have questions for Crystal, put them in and then keep asking as we go through these pieces and parts. I will show you how to get to the integration piece, but I wanted to show you right out of the gate, as I promised, like what does it look like to do the integration? So when you sign up, and I would show you what that looks like, you will be sent to the integrations tab where you will then choose your tile. So you would grab Syncro. Configuration instructions are right here, but we can access them live so that you can see those as well. So you would put in your URL, your API key, and save, click active, save your settings, and in about an hour, it pulls all of your Syncro data over, which is really key. I'm going to kind of give you the key that we see for Syncro folks who use Lifecycle Insights is that their data quality will come out. That they're happier clients, those Syncro clients who have the RMM attached to their assets. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to jump to a demo site with a lot more data. But before I do, as promised, if you are in Syncro's App Center, here you can find us here, Lifecycle Insights. And then when you click in that, or the link to the article on how to do the integration is right there. And then again, on lifecycleinsights.io, there is pricing. And Alex, if you could put the link to this in the chat for everybody. So we charge per number of active clients on your end that you would be doing business reviews for. And we have a free trial for a month. So those things are to note. So we've kind of answered two of your questions right out of the gate. And now I'd like to take a little tour of what the integration does. So Lifecycle Insights was built as the brainchild of Alex, who had all of these, unlike having the RMM and the PSA in the same place, he was cobbling together reports from multiple systems in order to be able to present a business review. And there was lack of confidence that the data was neat and tidy when he did have it. And so we got together and sort of brainstormed what that would look like to help an MSP really have insights into asset lifecycle management. We really do three things. I'm going to show you a couple of them today, but feel free to ask questions about anything you see in the platform. So the three big ideas of what we do: one, we do all of the QBR type of reporting. If you call them TBRs, SBRs, EBRs, we'll play along with that. So your VCIO types of reports. The second thing, and all of that will push to budget road mapping, so that we put that all in one bucket. The second thing we have is a risk assessment tool. So really, it's a completely flexible assessment that you could ask. You can build your own. You can use one of our default templates. And then we have the scheduler to allow you to keep track of your business reviews for all of your clients. And then the secret sauce is that we tie assessments and the asset pieces together in a project. So I'm going to focus on the assets because that's where the power of the Syncro integration comes in. And I'll touch on assessments for a bit and show you how they tie together for a project roadmap. But again, if you have other questions, feel free to ask as we go. So as I mentioned, you plug in Syncro, we go out, we find your assets, and we give you a data quality score. We also do lookups on make, model, and serial number to get warranty and end of life lookups. So if you have Dell, Lenovo, HP, Microsoft Surface, Cisco, and Meraki, we will go do those lookups for you and get the warranty and end of life date if they have them, which is key because you're really, if you're planning lifecycle management for your clients and you are helping them define and determine when their assets are out of date, you really need to have that information in front of them. Crystal mentioned some of the policies that you would have inside of Syncro that determine workflows. The policies that you set inside of Lifecycle Insights are around when devices would expire. So are your workstations, we give you some default settings. Do you keep them for 3 years? Do you recommend 5 years, right? How long are your servers or virtual servers? And then a default replacement cost. Because as we pull those assets over, you can see my demo site has decent data at 81%. We build an asset list for you. One of the features of Lifecycle Insights is we have color-coded swatching, which allows you to do a lot of queries without having to write queries. So if you wanted to know if I have any devices where the warranty is expiring, so it's stoplight reporting, right? Red, yellow, green. So you have, do we have any red and yellow warranties where the device itself is not at end of life? So the device is still within its replacement period. You can look at the report this way and give a report to your execs saying we need to talk about these assets. We might want to just upgrade warranties instead of replacing the actual device. I say a printable report for your clients. We always have downloaded Word docs that we can provide or as CSVs. So the Word docs are pretty exec friendly and customizable for you. I'll download a budget one when we get there. So that is around assets. And I mentioned that we do lookups. So let me go into a particular asset. You can see the information that we're pulling from Syncro. And if you didn't have the warranty or end of life information in there, and we've pulled it from one of the ones we have an integration with, you would find the information in here. So Alex, I'll pause there for a second and ask if there were any questions around that before I go to the user list.
Yeah, one question that came in was, does Lifecycle Insights integrate with other RMMs? Syncro is not an option for us today, but they might take a look at us and move on in a few years. And I'll answer that one. So typically, Lifecycle Insights integrates with a PSA tool as opposed to an RMM, because typically an MSP has more than one automation tool feeding into their asset list. So whether that be an RMM and a tool like LionGuard or Auvik or something like that, we want to integrate with what you consider to be your source of truth. And that's kind of the beauty of the integration with Syncro, is that it's all in one place. It's not the vendor who's gone out and purchased one or two products and they're trying to make them match up. We get the cleanest and best data when we integrate with somebody like Syncro, who is everything in one place. There's no more integrations to manage and that kind of thing. But we do have integrations with ConnectWise, Data Autotask, and IT Glue if you're not today a Syncro partner and for some reason that just isn't in the cards for you.
The other integration while I'm on the integrations page is the user list. So we will pull your users from Syncro and Microsoft 365 so that you can ask questions like, are there users in one place that are not in the other? And who is paying for these licenses and why have we not tracked them appropriately? So in terms of value add conversations, you really want to take a look at potentially licenses that are just hanging out there inside the actual user list. You may look and find users that have never logged in. I'm sure it's never happened that someone has signed up, has started to work for one of your clients and then has quit that day and nobody cleaned up the email license issue. So those are the types of questions you can ask and answer inside the platform and really can provide value to your clients right out of the gate. I mentioned earlier that with the asset list, we have default replacement costs. And if you noticed when I clicked into an asset, I have the ability to change that cost for an individual asset. You can change it per company or for all of your companies, right? So I can see my active companies in this drop-down picker up here. The replacement cost populates to the asset list so that we can create a budget forecast for your clients. And this for sure is the big aha that Alex wanted to present to his clients in his VCIO or QBR conversations, and typically would present two different budgets. So one would be a 6-quarter budget with all of the detail. I want to know every single serial number and who's attached to it, right? And who's going to get a new computer this month, next month, 3 months from now. But at the same time, a 6-year budget for that wide angle guest budget, because what you don't want to do is surprise a client that they've got 2 servers to replace in 2 years, because they're never pleased when they suddenly have a $20,000 expense. So if you can give them a projection of assets to come, the conversation is around how are we going to make this happen instead of if we are going to make this happen. And I did say that I would pull up a budget report. So let me go ahead and download one of those so you can see what the reporting looks like. Again, all of our reporting pulls out into Word so that it's easily customizable. You can add comments from within the platform or add them within the report itself. And we have lots of flexibility around, as you saw, when I grab our gear icon on any of the reports, you have the ability to really customize what you would like to see along the way. So I want to move into assessments so I can make the connection for projects. So feel free to keep asking questions. But with the assessments piece, I mentioned we have a very flexible platform. So we provide in managed assessment templates, several templates that you can use and edit to make your own. So we have folks that really, I'm gonna start with the one that most folks end up using right out of the gate. So what we typically see is folks will grab our default assessment, which is a combination of some of the best practices that Alex used in his MSP before he sold it, as well as things that really you've picked up along the way, I'd say, Alex, with it, talking with others in the industry and with the changes. So we're constantly updating this as you see things moving.
Yep.
So within, I'm gonna I will collapse all the categories so you can see. So in our default assessment, we kind of have 6 categories around hardware, business applications, policy and procedure, security, continuity, and regulatory compliance. And inside of hardware, you can ask questions really again around whatever you would like. But within here, you can customize the responses and easily go through and score your client along each of the pieces. For internet security appliance, you can see that we have already made some comments. We've added both private and public comments so we could share those with your customer. And we can tell that we've given this assessment item before. And when I show previous responses, I feel like we need to have a serious conversation with our execs because we've had the same conversation 4 times. It's been read each time. So now is the time to get serious. And what we would hope to see here, this is demo data. So we would hope to not see all of that red, right? We would hope to see that it went from red, maybe yellow to green, or that now is the time, right? You've been read twice. We really need to address this. So you get a score as you assess, so as you move along, and then you quickly populate an overall score. You can download the assessment. So let's take a look at what that looks like. We have a couple of choices for the actual assessment download, but I'm going to show the one that's without a doubt the most popular. It's the overall summary. And the reason it is the most popular is because it does a couple of things. First, it gives you an individual category score and an overall assessment score. But right out of the gate, you can see what category poses the biggest risk to the company. And as you scroll through, each category then has each individual question that is aligned to it. And at the end, the appendix is really the conversation that needs to be had at your business review. And this is all of the at-risk items in one place. And with the assessment being written in business-friendly terms, right? They can identify the business pain points so that you can have a conversation around the technology that aligns to those pain points. And I mentioned at the beginning that that's really the key and the connection that Lifecycle Insights will make for you. So let me show you what that looks like. In the analytics, I can do 2 things. First, if I gave a baseline in my pre-sales or the first time I did a business review, and then in my comparison, I can easily show my client sort of the value I'm bringing to the table, right? Last time when we were here, you were at a 44, but we did these projects, we've moved to a 77. Or you could say, I just did an assessment and you're at a 44. And if we do these projects, you will be at a 77. And you can really then see that by category on how the work that you're proposing is going to impact their overall asset lifecycle health. The other piece is, once you've given that assessment, you can say, we now need to create some projects based on the risks that we saw. So I'm going to grab 3 of the pain points and create a project from these items. So you can see we pull the business pain points from the assessments right into a project, and then we allow you to link assets to that. So if these 4 red devices, 5 red devices are causing that business pain point, or we can eliminate that business pain point by eliminating these devices and replacing them, we can pull them right onto the project so that we can then say, this will get resolved with these items. So you're taking that technical talk out of it. They don't necessarily care about the serial numbers that are being replaced in the short term, because what they care about is solving these problems in the long term. So those all land in projects, and you can even see a roadmap by client or across all of your clients, which will really give you a sense of kind of upcoming work and really where you have room to do more work or where you need to go sell some more. So I promised about 15 minutes. Hopefully I got close to that. So I'm going to pause there and see what questions we have from you, Alex. And then I think we've gotten a couple of other private ones that we want to have a conversation around too.
Yep, I got a couple of them answered here. So we're in good shape. We talked briefly just about how budgeting works and a couple of different scenarios that might exist there, where you're talking about either a hardware replacement cost or a hardware plus labor replacement cost. So I think we're good there.
Okay. One of the questions we often get is what were those warranty lookups again? So let me jump back to our integrations page. So we do warranty lookups on Dell, Lenovo, HP, Cisco Meraki, and SmartNet, and Microsoft Surface as well, along with Microsoft 365 integration.
And don't get stressed out over the beta flags on Cisco and Meraki. Those are supports reporting back to us, and customers are reporting back to us that they're working very, very well. So even though they haven't finished final sign off on them, they're active in the platform and you're able to use them.
Perfect. So Crystal, I showed you a little dive before, and this is more of a deep dive. So from your perspective, what what are you thinking, having seen it from the lens of questions that you typically get from your partners?
Yeah, I absolutely love this. I love how clean it is. I love the color coded reports where the at-risk stuff, I mean, visually, when you're displaying that to a potential client or a client, that right there is just like, it's an immediate, oh no, this needs fixed. Like, I can just see the value in this just like so quickly. And what I love about this is that I can tell that this was built by an MSP. I can see it. And what's great about that, and what I think is amazing about our integration, is that that's how Syncro was built. Our founders and our co-founders were a mixture of having their own break fix shop that, they moved to MSP, and, another co-founder, that's how he got started in the business, was like, how do I automate this computer repair that I keep doing over and over? So you have now these two partners that are building these platforms that actually know what MSPs are looking for. And it's very, very apparent. I think one thing, I have a question for Alex, and hopefully this isn't putting you on the spot, but
take all the fun out of it if you weren't.
So when you had your own MSP, I guess I would love to just know, for people that are utilizing Syncro, or really any MSP that's out there, what would you do with this? Like, how would you implement this? Would it be quarterly check-ins? Like, what would you do?
So our goal, and we kind of took one out of the Chartec book. And for those of you who don't follow Chartec, it's a fantastic program that really helps train up MSPs. And I took a lot of training from them as an MSP owner. Their statement is, for every $1,000 a month that a customer spends with you, they should get one business review a year. You can call it quarterly if you're going to do it quarterly, but for some of your customers, if they're spending 12 grand a month, you're going to meet with them every month. If they're spending $1,000 a month, you might only meet with them once a year. So we did technical business reviews. We like to go out and meet with our customers and really sit down and go over the strategy of where they're at with their business. Some folks are calling them strategic business reviews. Call it whatever you want, but we need to have a forward-thinking, really strategic conversation around, exactly what total cost of ownership of your technology looks like. And this tool gave us the reports that we before had to cobble out of 3, 4, 5 different systems, put on a spreadsheet, and try and make it pretty, try and make it presentable, try and make it look like it wasn't made by an IT guy, and go deliver it to a customer. So this gave us a way to really deal with that. And as far as Paul's question about data that we send back to Syncro, we send back warranty lookup, so purchase and warranty expiration dates back to Syncro as a write back opportunity. That is optional. You get to control whether or not we send this back.
And Alex, do those get sent into an asset custom field? Is that where that information goes?
Yep.
Which is super cool, because then even on the Syncro side too, if you have an actual date in an asset custom field, you can set up automations. Like, if that date is within 7 days, you can get a notification or something like that too. So there's cool things you can do by
And giving your
data.
engineers information, like, somebody called in about a 7-year-old computer to report a slow computer ticket. Well, yes, your computer's slow. I don't know, that's the end of that ticket. But this is information that your engineers need, right? So we're trying to put that information at their fingertips by writing it back, as well as giving them the ability to really see from their account and work with their account managers to say, hey, I get a bunch of calls about these slow computers. Is there anything you can do with this client to nudge them along and move them in the right direction? It's a partnership between service and account management to really drive your customers in the right direction.
Alex, aligned to Crystal's question of sort of how do you implement this? I know we have a couple stories of folks who had not been doing business reviews and had really been having technical conversations with clients. I'm thinking of a couple of that I know you've worked with. Curious if you could just share a story or two about the difference that they've seen once they sort of really started taking this approach with their conversations.
Well, look, even as early as this morning, when I was having a couple of sales and onboarding calls with some folks who we're working with today, we always get, I feel like I need to justify my existence, right? That's the conversation we have. I used to be in front of my customers all the time. I used to shake their hands. They knew what I was doing. Now I do all this remote stuff. And with COVID, we do even more remote stuff. We're moving over to managed services where it's a flat rate bill. And if a customer is spending $3,000 a month, but they only call me 4 times, they don't feel like they're getting their money's worth. If we're meeting with this client on a regular basis and we're delivering the kind of value where we're saying, let me show you total cost of ownership of all your technology. Let me show you that 2023 is going to be a bad year 2 years early, so you can start to plan for some of this expense. Let me help you contain cost in things like telecommunications expenses and things like that we help them track in our contracts module. Let me really help you manage IT instead of just being the guy who runs in with a screwdriver and a hammer and either breaks or fixes things depending on the day. It's a whole different relationship. All of a sudden, you've achieved what we've been looking for years. For years, vendors came to me as an MSP and said, we'll help you become that trusted advisor. And that was almost as funny as we'll sell you a tool that replaces a human being, right? They all said, we'll sell you a tool. It'll have so much automation, it'll just replace a human. None of them do that. The point at which we give a human being the tools to go have the conversation to earn the role of trusted advisor, all of a sudden something different happens. And they get looked at in a different way by that customer.
I love that, because I think that we hear that on the Syncro side often, that being able to represent your value, right? Because if you're really on the technical side, if you're doing your job, most of the time your clients don't even know you exist. So continuing, I love the idea, the rule of 1,000. Essentially, I like scheduling those meetings. That makes a ton of sense. That's awesome. And I think the one thing to remember too is the clients that you're talking to, they need your help. Like they're hiring you for a reason. They don't know what they have. They don't know potential risks are. So like, I think a lot of times when we're in the tech, this field, sometimes there's assumptions being made that everyone just knows that that's a risky thing to do, or that they don't know. And that's why they do need you. And
to that point, Paul Green says that MSP's customers have so little concept of what we really do that not only do they not understand what they do, but they don't even understand it enough to know if they're buying the right products and services to fix their problems. So unless we're talking to them on a strategic level about solving for business pain with technology, which is why we go to assessments and tie them to the actual broken technology, right? So we can find the business pain of, we don't have multi-factor authentication, and that's going to cause a breach. We can tie that back to an asset or a configuration or some product or service that they need to buy, and tie all those things together. And then the conversation becomes around, we solve for the business pain by performing the project, instead of we solve for the Maserati payment by performing a project, right? Because that's what they think we do. They think we come running in the door with a stack of invoices because we have to make payroll, or we have to make a car payment, or something else is going on in our business. If you lay a 5-year budget out in front of them, there are no surprises. They knew 4 years ago when this server had to be replaced. So that's really, we're trying to help them see down the road and even around corners to make sure that they don't have surprises, and that there's really a strategic framework in place to manage the technology at their company.
So Alex, we were asked the other day, I think maybe on Everything MSP call, how many MSPs saw an increase in their MRR when they did their first business review during quarantine in particular. You want to talk about how you answered that question?
It's a ridiculous number. I think there's somewhere north of 80% of MSPs are undercharging for their services or are trying to find a new way to get products and services in front of their customers. So the industry's moved. The foreign bad actors have gotten better. We need better tools to protect our customers, but we have a 3-year contract and we don't want to move the needle. Well, you know what? It's time to go have a QBR with your customer and say, yes, you're halfway through a 3-year contract, but the goalpost has moved. It's time for you to move. You need to make some adjustments. And you know what? It's going to require we sign a new contract. And I kind of chuckle at the folks who say, well, I signed a 3-year contract. I can't do anything with them for 3 years. And if you've ever worked with a copier company, you know, well before their contract's over, they come swap out all your gear and make you sign a new one. And MSPs could learn something from that. Halfway through the contract, if that contract no longer works for that customer, guess what? Keeping that contract is a disservice to them and to you. And it's time to go sit down with new products and services. Don't worry about writing an addendum. Just lay a new contract in front of them. Wipe the old contract, start new, 3 new years, locked in, done and gone. And if you're doing everything that your customer wants, they'll have no qualms about signing a new 3-year contract.
I love that. And I think with that, it's if you aren't constantly evaluating that contract and you're in the technology space, you're in for trouble, because like you're saying, if you stick to the same contract and the same coverage for 3 years, you're going to be
space left you behind, right? I mean, these MSPs are small and medium-sized businesses who are fighting against nation states. Unlimited time, unlimited money, unlimited resources, you know, and they only have to slip up once. So they have to deploy the right products and services. They have to do it consistently across all their customers, and they have to have good reporting. And that's the thing that we see with our Syncro customers that is so fantastic. I mean, I've had at least a dozen calls already this week with folks who are fighting data quality issues in our system. And Marnie can show you the data quality reporting that we give, but we built this because all these vendors out there who built a PSA and bought an RMM or vice versa and have tried to stitch the two together have some sort of an integration somewhere that's broken almost every time. They'll have duplication of assets. They'll have just plain missing assets. I was working with a guy this morning that had more duplicate assets than he had legitimate assets in his asset list. We were looking for 75 workstations. We had 250 workstations we're sorting through, trying to find the right assets for him to go deliver this business review. And what we find with Syncro partners is they start a leg up in that instead of having data quality in the 20s, 30s, 40s, I actually saw a 17 this morning. They will be in the 80s and 90% almost out the door. And really all they have to do is go true up their network assets. So switches, firewalls, wireless access points, make sure those things are in the system and documented properly. And they're all out and rolling, where other customers are back trying to make sure they don't have 3 copies of the same workstation because they've got these products that are, bubblegum and duct tape together with some sort of an integration that works most of the time.
And Alex, you mentioned something earlier about, if you're halfway through a 3-year contract, you need to have a conversation with them, because if you're not, somebody else is, right? And one of my favorite stories is our client who, our partner who went to his largest, if you want to tell the story about, I know you know which one I'm talking about.
Yep. So yeah, we had a partner who he was kind of stagnant for a couple of years in his MSP, and he just couldn't figure out how to move the needle. He had the same employees, the same team for quite a while, and just couldn't grow his business. And COVID hit, and he was kind of concerned, and he got into it with a sales coach, and just wasn't feeling like he was getting things figured out. And finally, he came to me and he says, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out how to move the needle. I'm willing to put the time in if you guys are willing to help us figure it out. So I spent probably once a week with this guy for a month, and we got him dialed in, ready to go. He gets his biggest client. He's got all his reports ready, and he goes to present his first business review with them. And it was a significant chunk of money. I mean, I'm going to say it was 25%, 20% of his annual revenue. One set of projects for one customer, along with some MRR upgrades. And he was ready to go. He goes in and presents it, and afterwards he sends me an email, and I get this email. Everything went great, except I got stuck at the end. And I responded to him and said, "What do you mean you got stuck?" He says, "They said let's do it, and I didn't know what to do next." So what do you mean you didn't know what to do next? He says, "I never believed they would take the whole thing. I thought they would come back and push back and say, well, I'll do this part, but not that part. I'll do this part, but not that part." But, he was talking just a little bit, it was over a $75,000 project deal with some MRR. And he was able to close that. And shortly thereafter, that gave them enough confidence to go out and give a similar sales pitch to a new customer and say, what we're doing with our existing customers is walking them through this process, and this is what it looks like to work with us. Then he signed in some new business, and when he came back to the office, one of his employees says, I've been here for 4 years and I've never met a new customer. And you've not only sold a new customer, but you've also sold this big project deal. And he's like, I feel like we're turning a corner. And to me, like, that was enough. I didn't even need a paycheck that week. I would have worked for free just to hear that story. But those are the kind of things that we're seeing with customers who are making these kind of changes. Adam asks, are 3-year contracts still the norm? We're moving away from contracts altogether, and most of the services we buy are the same. I will say you need to have a contract, whether you have a term or not. You need to have a contract that puts in place some protections for you and for your customer. And I'm sure that's what you meant. But as far as terms of your contract goes, I would encourage you to keep some sort of a term in your contract, even if it's just a year. God forbid something happened to you and you decide it's time to exit your MSP. That is where all of your value is. Don't spend your life working on a company where you have to either die or retire to get out of it, and you're going to die in a server room because you didn't build it so that you could retire. We never know what's going to change in our lives. We never know when we're going to have that life-changing event where we have to sell our MSP. Run it every day like you intend to sell it, even if that's not the case, so that God forbid the time comes. And I'm a perfect example of somebody who accidentally started an MSP and accidentally sold an MSP. It wasn't my plan when I did it either time, and it just kind of worked out. So those are the things that I would really encourage you guys to pay attention to. If you're not running it every day like you're ready to sell it, or like you're looking to sell it, then it's probably running you, and you probably have a job and not a business.
So I mentioned at the end, we would have a couple pieces. So Alex, I can tell you put the pricing, and Crystal, you put your pricing in as well. One of the things that we have found is that folks often are excited to get in and get the data, but sometimes they want some additional coaching their way through. So we are starting a boot camp in March, which is normally $600 a seat. But if folks sign up for the free trial before March, before the first Friday in March, it'll be 1 Eastern time. We will be giving a seat to that MSP in the boot camp, because Alex really does walk through. And that's where many of these stories come from, is the folks that he walks through during, helps really set up their business review process during the boot camp, if you don't have a process and want to work toward that. So just so you know, if we see you come over and we have the list, we will ship you an invite, to register for that if you're interested.
Yeah, if you don't see it, if we miss it, make sure you remind us that you're on the Syncro group, and we'll make sure you get that bootcamp invite.
That's awesome. And then just on the Syncro side, I'll drop also, I put our pricing in there earlier. We do have a landing page for everyone that's joining this webinar as well. And on the Syncro side, we also offer a free 30-day trial. It's fully featured trial. So I think, as far as I know, you can even set up this integration while you're in a trial.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you can test out everything that we just showed you all in that 30-day trial. We offer free product tours and all of that good stuff too, to make sure that we're setting you up for success. So yes, we definitely hope to hear from all of you for sure.
Marnie, before we go, I've got an anonymous question here. Or an anonymous attendee would like to know where contracts and subscriptions come from and how that piece works. They don't recall seeing that in any of their systems. So
Yeah.
Do you want to talk through that, or you want me to take it?
Well, I'm happy to chat. So, although you can fill in the gaps for sure. So the contracts in Lifecycle Insights is a manual edition. So this would be something that you want to track, because it should go on a technology budget for your client. And you will be a better partner for them by including a contract. So up here, you can see some places where we often see contracts. Maybe your client has a VoIP provider that they're using, and it's not your preferred provider. So you track their contract because, and I'll click into one so you could see what it would look like, because it's part of their technology budget. It makes sense for you, if you're really presenting them a full technology budget, it makes sense for them to see that align there, but also for you, it lets you see when that's expiring. So if you have a preferred VoIP provider, you could say, oh, I can see your, lights out MSP well, that's the wrong one, but that's okay. You know, we can see that your contract is expiring. Are you still happy with them, or are you interested in taking a look at a new provider? So to really sell deeper into the stack, we see there's better alignment with your own standards, along with really being able to be a valued strategic partner and attaching contracts to the budget. So Alex, what parts would you want to add to that?
I think that covers the majority of it. So, you know, in our training classes, in our boot camps and workshops and stuff, we talk about, you know, that budget being a complete total cost of ownership. And this is where we pick up a lot of those pieces that may not be evident, that aren't things that you sell directly to your customer, but they make great talking points when you're sitting down with them at a business review and you're kind of doing your first business review and getting your feet under you. Part of that process is data collection. And some of that data collection can literally just be a conversation between you and your customer. That's, hey, if you'd like to see me fill in the gaps in this budget, if you want to see what what technology really costs you, let's go get the pricing for all those 4G tablets your salespeople are carrying around. Let's go get the internet bills, all the weird one-off devices, the camera systems, the alarm systems, all the stuff that plugs into the network that to you guys is technology, but doesn't really land in my lap as the MSP. And let's find really true total cost of ownership. And the real value in it is, of course, you're getting enough information that you can cross-sell more of your products and services because you know when the end dates are. But also, you're presenting that value to your customer that, hey, I'm here to consult with you on things that are not necessarily specific to the products and services that we offer. I can help you save money by picking the right ISP, by picking the right voice over IP phone system. You know, we can make sure your vendors aren't pointing fingers at each other and creating those kind of you know, that everybody hates that feedback loop of, you know, the phones don't work. Well, the internet circuit's fine, so go call the phone company. The phone company says it's the internet circuit, and back and forth you go. So, you know, if you can get all that info and sell the customer on one solution, you can give them a one neck to choke type solution, and they can call you for everything.
I threw up the screenshot of sort of how one of our partners did a sample stack alignment where you kind of list this is more of an internal assessment that they built with their own you know, technologies, and then look, you know, across all of their clients across the top. So you could really look down a column and see, you know, creative designs has lots of opportunities for selling. This is really about streamlining sales, right? So we color code in red, yellow, and green where your opportunities are. So that you know where you can go make sales, or even across rows, right? Like we could do a whole marketing campaign around this particular type of asset.
And I know exactly who you're talking about. And he had two things to say about this. One was that he was looking for sales opportunity, but two, he was looking to smoke out the folks who were not utilizing all of his products and services, because he saw them as folks who were going to be really noisy, create extra support tickets, and even be at risk of churn because they're not using his full suite. They're not getting the same experience that a customer does who uses the full suite. Things don't go quite as expected. They create more tickets. People are noisier and less happy, and it just goes down a whole bad road. So he was also using this as a method to kind of hunt down that creative designs type customer who was really at risk for churn. And if you click that next tab, that overall performance tab, he was using that to really drive that conversation. Right, the customer who only scored a 43 on that alignment assessment is somebody who really, or 53, who really isn't using to the fullest their products and services.
Perfect. I think we have covered all of the questions. We certainly said we would address what the integration looks like, what you can get out of both platforms. I very much enjoyed the ease of use of the Syncro piece, Crystal. I learned some things. You know, I don't spend a lot of time in it. I just watch the integration that comes over. So that was great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for this. This was incredibly helpful. And I know that we're recording this because I know we'll have users that this will be very, very, very helpful to have. So thank you. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, absolutely. We will absolutely send the recording out to folks with a friendly reminder that if you want to do a free trial with either both of us and want access to the boot camp, that you can do that as well.
Awesome.
One last, I'm going to put info at if you want to get a hold of us in an email. And then again, on our homepage, you can always, our calendar link is there. So you can always grab if you want a full demo or talk about your use case, feel free to reach out and get in touch.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, this was great.
Thank you.
All right. Have good ones, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.